The traffic light framework is no more, and with its scrapping sees the end to a number of COVID restrictions such as mask mandates and changes to our isolation requirements. You'll no longer need to wear a mask in supermarkets, retail settings or on public transport. The news well received by those in the business and hospitality sectors.
The vast majority of Retail NZ members don't believe that the mask requirements have been keeping their workers or their employees or customers safe, or certainly making much of a difference to health and safety outcomes. So, removing the masks, which was done in most Australian jurisdictions 6 or 7 months ago now, is a good step forward and really just brings us into line increasingly with the rest of the world.
For small business, it's been a very, very difficult time. And this dropping of a mandate, well, that's just a relief of something that's really imposed on us and created life in hell for small businesses.
Masks, however, will remain a requirement when visiting healthcare facilities like hospitals, general practices and pharmacies, and also at rest homes.
Meanwhile, some workplaces could still request employees to wear masks too.
An employer can mandate them themselves. So the law would recognise that. It's an employer's prerogative whether they have masks on or not. But it's got to be a reasonable reason for having it. And that could be contested. But again, if they do want it, particularly say in a rest home or somewhere where there's vulnerable people, they could insist on it going in. And I would imagine that to happen. If an employee did not obey the instruction to wear a mask, that employer would be justified to go through a disciplinary process. And if challenged in the courts would support the employer.
Contacts of COVID-19 cases will no longer need to isolate. Only positive individuals will be required to for 7 days. Arrivals to Aotearoa will also no longer need to do compulsory RAT tests. While most COVID experts are optimistic the changes won't spark a fresh wave of cases, there remains some concern.
I don't think the dropping of the mask mandate will immediately cause a outbreak and a surge in cases. Cases are typically falling now because a lot of people have had COVID. I think it was pretty much the right call. It is a little bit hard to say exactly. It's not exactly clear what the government's goal is now. The one rule I think that was a real mistake was the decision to drop the compulsory RAT test for new arrivals in the country. It was picking up a lot of cases. And the thing is that a case coming from overseas is different from a case locally. They'll have at least a subtly different variant and sometimes a quite different variant.
As the world navigates this next phase of the pandemic, masks off, they could still be worth keeping in the back pocket.
Isolating when you've got symptoms, not going into work when you've got symptoms. If you need to go out and have symptoms, or you've been in touch with a COVID case, then masking up, and also understanding how ventilation works in places, I think is really important. It's sort of all the things we've been practicing over the last couple of years. They still work, and we should keep them in mind.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. To stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald, click the subscribe button below or check out one of the videos here, and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.